Hi, very good morning. I'm Dr. Janak Patel, MD physician. I'm not an endocrinologist. Today I'll be discussing on pheochromocytoma, which is a tumor of a adrenal medulla, and it is one of the cause of severe resistant hypertension. So, for an hypertensive patient who is not under control and person is having some of the symptoms and signs, you can suspect pheochromocytoma. You investigate, you treat them, it can be curable. So it is one of the curable hypertension. If detected, can help. If undetected, can produce lot of complications because it produces severe resistant hypertension. So pheochromocytoma is a neuroendocrine tumor of adrenal medulla, which is arising from chromaffin cells. 95% of them are abdominal and 90% of those are there in an adrenal medulla. 80% of the tumors are unilateral and they secrete both adrenaline, noradrenaline, or we call epinephrine, norepinephrine. Few percentage of tumor arises outside the adrenal gland and then they are called extra-adrenal pheochromocytoma. So there any tumor which produces catecholamine, that is adrenaline, noradrenaline, you will call them as a catecholamine producing tumors. And one of the most common we come across is pheochromocytoma. There are other tumors also which can secrete catecholamine like paraganglionoma, ganglioneuroma, neuroblastoma, pseudoxanthoma, and glomus jugulare tumor. This is the tumor which is involving internal jugular vein. And all these catecholamine tumors, they arise from neural crest, which will be finally converted into what we call as the chromaffin cells and sympathetic ganglia, which arising from sympathetic ganglia, those are called ganglioneuroma, which arises from neuroblast are called neuroblastoma, and which arises from chromaffin cells, which can be intraadrenal or can be extraadrenal. So these are the common tumors which can secrete catecholamine producing tumors. So majority of the pheochromocytoma is from adrenal medulla and they account for 1% of hypertensive tumors. So person who is having hypertension, 1% of them can be because of adrenal medullary tumors or we call pheochromocytoma. So percentage wise it is 0.1% of hypertensive population. The ratio in male to female is same. It is very common after third decade up to 10th decade of life. And the most common symptoms you come across is severe hypertension, hypertensive crisis, refractory hypertension, hypertension before the age of 20, between 20 and 50 we can say. Adrenal lesion found by imaging studies very frequently and person may be accidentally detected, we call incidentaloma. Now this is called rule of 10, that is 10% of the tumors, 10% are extraadrenal, closer to 15%, 10% in children, 10% familiar, closer to 20%, 10% are bilateral or multiple, 10% of tumor recurs, 10% are malignant, and 10% are incidentally detective. And we have already told you male female ratio is equal, usually between 30 to 50 years of age. They are by and large benign and unilateral. Only 10% are malignant, 10 to 15% are bilateral, and very rarely they can be anywhere from the neck till bladder. You can have involvement of the bladder also with pheochromocytoma. So 90% of the adrenal medulla, 90% are from adrenal medulla, and only 10% of those pheochromocytoma is from chromaffin tissue, right from carotid up to bladder. And we have told you 90% are benign, only 10% are malignant. 90% are unilateral, 10% can be multiple tumors. And extraadrenal pheochromocytoma, 98% of them are located in abdomen, and extraadrenal adenoma is very common in paraganglion chromaffin tissues. It can be one of the part of MEN, that is multiple endocrine neoplasia 2 type 2A. 50% of pheochromocytoma are usually bilateral and may be associated with the thyroid malignancy and hypothyroid. MEN type 2B, 50% of pheochromocytoma are bilateral and they can be associated with thyroid carcinoma along with mucosal neuromas or Marfanoid features. There is another condition also called von Hippel-Lindau disease, in which you can have a 50% pheochromocytoma associated with retinoblastoma, cerebellar hemangioma, nephroma, and renal or pancreatic cyst. It can be 2% of the people with von Recklinghausen disease can have a pheochromocytoma, and they will have a hypertension. And along with that, they will have a Kappa-Alert spots. These are pigmentary spots, neurofibroma, and they can have an optic glioma. Plus, you can have many other conditions where you can have a pheochromocytoma associated with, say, islet cell tumors, etc. Or it can be familial paraganglionoma. So this permutation combination can be there. It can be there along with tuberous sclerosis, Sturge-Weber syndrome, ataxia telangiectasia, Carney triads, where you can have pheochromocytoma, stomach tumor, that is gastric leiomyoma, and pulmonary chondroma. These are all permutation combination which can be there where pheochromocytoma may be associated with other conditions. In children, usually it will present as a headache, nausea, vomiting, weight loss. By and large, they are multiple. They can be bilateral. 24% of the time it is bilateral. In 10% of the female, strong family history. Extraadrenal is right up to 30%. Hypertension will be sustained. Malignancy is more common in children. So malignant tumors will be more common. And they can also present with polyuria, polydipsia, and convulsions almost in 25% of the people. During pregnancy, person can complain of headache, hypertension, palpitation, and you have to differentiate from eclampsia. And postpartum period also, they can have a complications and they can have a mortality, high mortality. Race-wise, all race are prone to. Sex-wise, equal in male and female. Age, we have already told you, between 25 to 50. More common between 30 to 50. 10% are common in children. 50% in children, 50% of pheochromocytoma are solitary and intraadrenal. 25% are bilateral. 25% are extraadrenal. Adrenal tumor will secrete adrenaline, noradrenaline, and that adrenaline, noradrenaline will produce effect on peripheral blood vessels and on heart, increasing the force of contraction and heart rate. producing vasoconstriction. All these three factors will increase blood pressure. Also, it will have a glycogenolysis, neoglucogenesis, which will produce hyperglycemia, and it will produce intestinal relaxation. So all these effects you will see in a person with pheochromocytoma. So adrenal medulla will secrete adrenaline, which will be released into the bloodstream, and it will produce effect on the different organs, particularly heart, peripheral blood vessels, GI tract, etc. So adrenal medulla can release adrenaline, noradrenaline, and dopamine. That is epinephrine, norepinephrine, and dopamine. And that will act on different receptor, that is alpha 1 receptor producing vasoconstriction, on alpha 2 and beta 1 receptor increasing the heart rate, we call inotropic effect, acting on a muscle and liver producing vasodilatation by beta 2 receptor, etc. So these are the different effects by acting on alpha 1, alpha 2 receptor, beta 1, beta 2, and beta 3 receptor, etc. So this we are not going into detail. So the full effect is mainly increasing the heart rate, increasing the force of contraction. It will produce glycogenolysis and increases blood sugar level. It will also metabolize fat, we call lipolysis, and increases thermogenesis. It will produce vasodilatation by acting on beta 2 receptor and bronchodilation, and acting on alpha 1 receptor, vasoconstriction, intestinal relaxation. These are the combined effect what can take place because of release of adrenaline and noradrenaline. So basically it will increase the force of contraction of the heart, increase in the heart rate. Adrenaline will have a more effect on these two functions. It will produce peripheral vasoconstriction. So increasing the force of contraction, heart rate and vasoconstriction will elevate your blood pressure. By acting on a bronchioles, it produces vasodilatation. Because of glycogenolysis and neoglucogenesis, it will increase your blood sugar level. It also increases the metabolic rate, and because of this, it is also called as a stress hormone, and it will be released during acute stress. Constant release of catecholamine can induce cardiomyopathy. It can produce myocardial inflammation, fibrosis, and remodeling, producing cardiomyopathy. And because of cardiomyopathy, now there will be poor myocardial contraction, and person can go into congestive cardiac failure, and it can be resistant congestive cardiac failure. So you will have to investigate for ECG, echo, isotope scans, etc. to find out the effect of catecholamines on heart. This is a diagram which shows you tyrosine is converted to dopamine, and then it is converted to noradrenaline, which will be converted into adrenaline. And by a metabolism, it will be converted into vanillin mandelic acid, we call as a VMA, which will be shown present in urine. So you can detect this in urine, and this is one of the things which is detectable in urine. So this level will be elevated in any person who has got increased production of adrenaline and noradrenaline. As far as clinical features is concerned, person will have hypertension, tachycardia, diaphoresis, headache, tremors, weight loss, palpitation. They can also have a orthostatic hypotension. And in a children can have a sustained hypertension. In a woman, you can have a paroxysm of hypertension. They can have a sustained hypertension with paroxysm. Headache, vomiting, visual disturbances are very common. Hypoglycemia can occur in very few conditions. Polyuria, polydipsia is quite common. Palpitation is most common. And because of sudden shoot up of blood pressure, person can develop a cerebrovascular stroke, and person can be unconscious. Associated symptoms like sweating, pallor, flushing, and chest pains can occur because of sympathetic overactivity. So these are some of the common symptoms. So usually person can come to you with an abdominal pain, chest pain, irritability, nervousness, pallor, palpitation, rapid heart rate, that is tachycardia, severe headache, sweating, weight loss. So these are some of the common symptoms which can be present in pheochromocytoma. We usually say that person will have a very commonly this 5H. We call hypertension, headache, increased sweating, we call hyperhidrosis, hypermetabolism and hyperglycemia. Along with that, person can have abdominal pain, tachycardia, that is we call palpitation, person can anxiety, almost mimicking like panic attack, weight loss, sweating, all those things can be present. But usually we say that three common, PHE, P for palpitation, H for headache and A for episodic sweating. These three are the most common symptom. Along with that, if you get hypertension, do suspect pheochromocytoma. So if a person has got severe tachycardia producing palpitation, severe headache because of sudden shoot up of blood pressure and excessive sweating, and these are episodic or recurrent, do suspect pheochromocytoma. May be associated with hyperglycemia, excessive sweating, headache, and severe uncontrolled hypertension. All these features will be together. So some people say 5P. Here they say that 5H. So you can utilize whatever you want. So hypertension, P for pressure, headache, P for pain, excessive perspiration, palpitation, and pallor. Out of this, you can see that hypertension and headache are most common. Because of sudden shoot up of blood pressure, hypertension is very common, and excessive sweating. If these three are together, we usually say that, so pain, perspiration, and palpitation. So these three are called classical triad. And when these three are present, the chance of pheochromocytoma increases. So classical triad, headache, palpitations, and diaphoresis or excessive sweating. And palpitation is because of severe tachycardia. So when these three are present, you do suspect pheochromocytoma. You can see out of this, all these causes, the most common is headache, palpitation, and sweating. The rest are less common like pallor, nausea, vomiting, flushing, weight loss, tiredness, anxiety, panic attacks, sustained hypertension, paroxysmal hypertension, orthostatic hypotension, hyperglycemia. See the percentage. Percentage is not very high, but highest is headache, severe hypertension, palpitation, and sweating. So if hypertension is associated with severe headache, palpitation, and sweating, do suspect pheochromocytoma. So these are some of the common symptoms and signs: anxiety, palpitation, tremors, sweating, headache, flushing, nausea, vomiting, weight loss, constipation or diarrhea. Some person might have Raynaud's phenomena, chest pain, polyuria, and nocturia. And clinically, you get hypertension, tachycardia, or tachyarrhythmias. Very rarely you come across bradycardia. Orthostatic hypotension can be present. Pallor and flushing, glycosuria, hyperglycemia. Occasionally, person can have a slight elevation of body temperature. More common in a younger age group between 30 to 50 years. It is most common in both sexes at all ages, but very common between 30 to 50. 90% of the tumors are benign, 10% are malignant. They secrete mainly adrenaline rather than noradrenaline. So, no, sorry. They secrete most of the catecholamine is noradrenaline, and it is very frequently episodic, or it can be sustained hypertension with sweating, palpitation, hyperglycemia, and glycosuria. You can have a hemorrhagic episodes, bilateral in 10%, and extrarenal can also be very common. Microscopic wise, they are usually belonging to the large cells and sometimes to the vascular stroma tumors. So if you come across a hypertension, sudden shoot up of hypertension, paroxysmal hypertension with tachycardia, palpitations, headache, and sweating. You do suspect pheochromocytoma, and when you suspect pheochromocytoma, you go for investigation. Have a good abdominal ultrasound. If you detect adrenal mass, a small adrenal mass may not be detected, and if it is detected accidentally in an asymptomatic patient, we call incidentaloma. But when it is detected adrenal mass and on a physical examination you got a hypertension, you suspect pheochromocytoma, what you do is you do a plasma metanephrine level and 24-hour catecholamine level or metanephrine levels, what we call catecholamine or metanephrine level or VMA level, and that will help you to identify pheochromocytoma. Similar type of situation you can come across in a Cushing syndrome, where you will have to estimate the serum cortisol level and urinary cortisol level, and to differentiate whether it is primary or secondary you will have to do ACTH level, and you can go for dexamethasone suppression test. While hyperaldosteronism, you will require electrolytes where serum potassium will be low, aldosterone level will be elevated, and if you look at the aldosterone to renin level, it will be altered depending upon the primary or secondary variety. So try to find out this. So any person who has got severe hypertension, rule out between these three conditions: pheochromocytoma, hyperaldosteronism, and Cushing syndrome. Cushing syndrome will give you a clinical features like abdominal obesity, pendulum abdomen, stria, purplish stria, buffalo hump, moon face, etc. Central obesity, all those features will be there with cortisol level elevation, urinary cortisol level also being elevated, and ACTH level will be low or high depending upon the etiology. While in hyperaldosteronism, you will have adrenal tumors and associated with hypokalemia, little amount of hypernatremia, and person can have associated high metabolic alkalosis, and you can have an elevated level of aldosterone in blood, and if you estimate the aldosterone to renin ratio, you will be able to identify primary or secondary. This is a very useful slide. It will help you in a very simple way to differentiate between these three common conditions, that is endocrine induced hypertension. First, when you want to investigate any patient for pheochromocytoma, discontinue all the medication which will interfere with your reports, particularly person who is on a aldosterone antagonist or person who is on diuretics or person who is on certain antihypertensive drugs or person who is on a glucocorticoid replacement therapy, etc. Now what you do urinary catecholamine level for 24 hours, and if they are normal, recheck again, and if it is again normal, almost what we call as a pheochromocytoma is nearly ruled out. If clinical suspicion is very low, you can go for 24-hour fractionated metanephrine levels. If it is normal, it rules out. Now, if it is elevated, catecholamine levels are elevated, then you can go for localization by doing separate adrenal vein studies, or you can go for abdominal MRI or CT scan, which will give you an idea regarding which side tumor it is. And if on localization, if you want to further go for, you can go for what we call as a radioactive iodine scan, and that can also help you to rule out the adrenal and noradrenal tumors, and try to identify the site, whether it is intraadrenal or extraadrenal tumors. So you can utilize MRI, CT scan, PET scan or MIBG scan, etc. to identify, and you can do even a fractionated levels of what we call as a catecholamine from adrenal veins from right side or left side. So these are all those things what is being shown here to locate the site and to identify the tumor. You can go for CT, MRI or MIBG scan. Same thing is shown here. You can go through these slides at your leisure time. So you can go for CT, MRI or MIBG scan to locate the site, or you can go for even a PET scan. Clonidine suppression test, if at all if it is done, it should be done only under a close observation in an ICU. By and large, the standard test is plasma catecholamine level, we call metanephrine level, urinary metanephrine level, or we call catecholamine level, and urinary VMA level, that is vanillin mandelic acid. Associated finding like hyperglycemia, hypercalcemia, and erythrocytosis (CBC) can help, but these are non-specific tests. So by and large, abdominal CT biopsy will give you the idea regarding the type of tumor. We have already told you catecholamine blood level and urinary levels that will help you to confirm the diagnosis of pheochromocytoma. MIBG, MRI scan will help you to locate the site, whether it is intraadrenal or extraadrenal, and urinary catecholamine will also help you to confirm the diagnosis of pheochromocytoma. So this is that whatever we have mentioned, blood catecholamine level, CT and MRI to locate the site, and urinary level also to confirm the diagnosis of pheochromocytoma. So usually we know very well if blood epinephrine level is elevated, whether epinephrine or non-epinephrine, and urinary VMA or urinary epinephrine level are also elevated, it goes straight forward in favor of pheochromocytoma. So 24-hour urinary sample and plasma metanephrine level is a most diagnostic test for confirming the diagnosis of pheochromocytoma. There are certain diagnostic clues. Large pheochromocytoma you will be able to detect very easily. Small pheochromocytoma will secrete more of catecholamines. You can have a sporadic cases where norepinephrine is more secreted than epinephrine. In familial variety, epinephrine is more secreted than norepinephrine. Epinephrine level will be elevated more in case of MEN type 2 variety, and von Lendau disease, norepinephrine will be elevated. Paraganglionoma, norepinephrine. In glomus jugulare tumor, norepinephrine will be elevated. Ganglioneuroma also norepinephrine. Malignant pheochromocytoma, dopamine will be elevated. Neuroblastoma, dopamine will be elevated. So this will be some of the tumors. If diagnosed, you will have a specific catecholamine level will be elevated. There are some of the drugs which can interfere with metanephrine level like tricyclic antidepressant, levodopa, amphetamine, prochlorperazine, reserpine, etc. Even alcohol, cocaine. So do keep it in mind. Clonidine also. And this is the reason why clonidine is also utilized for suppression test. So you can go for clonidine suppression test or glucagon suppression test. Dangerous one, but should be done under observation. And this is what we have already mentioned regarding how to confirm the diagnosis and go for the treatment. Localization is usually done by CT, MRI or MIBG scan, or you can go for even a PET scan. So these are all the different tests for localization. You can go for all these different tests. These are some of the CT and PET scans, CT scan, MRI scan, to find out the site of tumor. This is a PET scan which shows you tumor size. This is a tumor. You can easily locate. This is left adrenal gland. Once you confirm the diagnosis of pheochromocytoma, first step is to block alpha receptor. So phenoxybenzaimine is first to be utilized. So block alpha receptor by phenoxybenzaimine, and then you can use non-selective beta blocker which will block beta 1 as well as beta 2 receptor, and then you can decide regarding surgery depending upon the type of tumor, where it is, what is the size, malignant, benign, etc. So first is alpha blocker followed by non-selective beta blocker, and along with control of blood pressure, it will also help during surgery to prevent sudden shoot up of blood pressure. So these are alpha blocker, beta blocker followed by surgery. Then you can go for a surgery. These are all the alpha blocker: phenoxybenzaimine, pyrazosine, terazosin, doxazosin, etc. Or you can use beta receptor blocker, that is labetalol. You can use a calcium channel blocker. You can use a catecholamine synthesis inhibitor, etc. That is metirosin. You can use that also. These are all pentolamine. You can use nicardipine. You can use lidocaine. These are for cardiac arrhythmias. This is for hypertension, control of blood pressure. So pentolamine can be used in a hypertensive crisis. Nitroglycerin drip. You can use nicardipine, esmolol, labetalol can be utilized combining with other compounds, and then you can go for surgical intervention. But first, alpha blocking followed by non-selective beta blocker is a must. And in a post-operative period, you have to keep a watch on blood pressure. See that the blood pressure is normal. And then, if entire adrenal gland is removed, you will have to think in terms of replacement of glucocorticoids with mineralocorticoids. So alpha blocker, beta blocker, and then you can use CCB or ACE inhibitor also, etc. During pregnancy, again, the first drug of choice is phenoxybenzaimine with non-selective beta blockers, and in a third trimester, phenoxybenzaimine with a non-selective beta blocker can be utilized safely. Complication of pheochromocytoma, most common complication is because of sudden shoot up of blood pressure. So we call hypertensive crisis, where you can get cerebrovascular stroke, intracranial hemorrhage. You can get cardiac arrhythmias, tachyarrhythmias, and because of constant catecholamine secretions, it can produce cardiomyopathy and congestive cardiac failure. You can have acute respiratory distress syndrome also. You can have cerebrovascular strokes. You can have hypertensive paroxysm because of use of some of the medicines which can release catecholamines, and sometimes person can even die. And after surgery, you will have a chance of severe hypotension because of complete removal of adrenal gland, and it can produce spontaneous infarction from severe hypotension after tumor removal, and you can have even acute renal failure and even a peripheral shock. Even a person can develop MI also, rarely. So I end my lecture here. I hope this lecture will be helpful to you. Once in a while, if it is in your mind, you can detect pheochromocytoma clinically and then go for investigations.